Shabbos Daf Ches, Achenu Kol Beis Yisrael. We're in very trying times. There are many of us that are in quarantine or self-imposed quarantine. I want to give you chizuk, have bitachon, learn a little bit more, daven a little bit stronger, and retrospect. Let's think, why is this happening and what can we do to become better? If you are in quarantine, you're looking for a shir, we are still live streaming 7:15 a.m. from Israel, and then it goes to YouTube, WhatsApp, All Daf, Torah Anytime, and on our app at 8mindaf.com. Be mischazik. The Gemara says an amazing concept. If you take an entire rishus, take a rishus hayachid and transfer it into rishus harabim, you are potter. How do you do so? You need an object that's 4 by 4 tvachim by 10 tvachim high. The best example would be if I take a basket, a kaveris. Now a basket is typically round. And this rishus is 4 by 4 square. How do I get a 4 by 4 square into a round basket? Well, the Gemara is very simple math. If I have a 1 by 1 square, the diagonal is 1.4 according to Gemara math. Very simple math. So if I have a 4 by 4 square, the diagonal is 5.6. In order to get a 4 by 4 square into a circle, I need a diameter of 5.6, which is the diagonal of my square. So my basket needs to be 5.6, or Abaye says, let's make it 6 tfachim to be certain that you have the right shear. If I have a 6 tfachim basket by 10 tfachim, now my basket is a rishus hayachid. Says Rav, I don't need 6 tfachim. Because once you have a basket that's 10 tfachim, automatically it's more than 10 tfachim, because you have something called krumius. You have these little pieces of unwoven straw or whatever that sticks on the top. And it goes above my 10 tfachim into makom p'tur, and once it's in the makom p'tur, then my whole basket is considered in a makom p'tur, and I am potter. What if I take a basket that's 7.5 tfachim, flip it over, and bring it within 2.9 tfachim of the ground? Now I could say lavad. Anything within 3 tfachim extends my mechitzos, it extends the walls of my basket all the way down, and now my basket is slightly above 10 tfachim. Once it's above 10 tfachim, once again it's in the makom p'tur, and I am potter. But let's say the basket is exactly 7 tfachim. I have to go a little bit less than 3 tfachim in order to get lavad. Now my basket is slightly less than 10 tfachim, and it doesn't work. Rav Ashi says, even if I flip my basket over, I can't extend my mechitzos and walls. Why? Because a basket is not meant to be flipped over. The usage of a basket is when it's flipped upright and I could store things in it. Therefore, there's no lavad. Now, what if this basket that's upright is 2.5 tfachim away from the ground? I still don't say lavad to extend the walls because there aren't any walls that are visible. All I see is a flat bottom. The halacha is, if I take an object and I throw it 4 amas from rishus harabim, I'm chayiv if it lands in the rishus harabim. What if I have a little bump in the road that's less than 3 tfachim? That's all part of the rishus harabim because it's less than 3 tfachim, people step on it. What if it's 4, 5, 6 up to 9 tfachim? That's a makom p'tur because people don't step on it and people don't use it for anything. But anything above 9 tfachim, people use to readjust their load, and therefore it becomes part of rishus harabim. What if I have a hole in the ground that's exactly 9 tfachim? According to Rav Yosef, just like I say a beam that's 9 tfachim is considered part of rishus harabim, so too a hole in the ground is considered part of rishus harabim. Rava says no. A hole in the ground is hardly used. It's very difficult to use, and therefore it's not considered part of rishus harabim. And I'll prove it to you. There's a mission that says, later on in Daf Kuf, that if there's a stream of water that goes through the rishus harabim and somebody throws an object into that stream of water, and that stream of water is less than 10 tfachim, it's considered as if I threw it into rishus harabim. Why? Because people walk through it. The question is, why does the Mishnah repeat itself twice? Well, the first part I can explain easily. The part that talks about the water, because some people use it in the summer to cool themselves off, and I think in the winter it's not considered part of rishus harabim. That's why it repeats itself the second time, to say that even in the winter, when people do go into the water to clean themselves off, perhaps in the summer they don't, and therefore it says it twice. But why does it say rishus harabim haleches by? Says Rav, I'll tell you why. To tell us the concept that when you walk, when people don't really like to walk through the water, it's still considered walking, it's still considered rishus harabim. But usage to use a hole in the ground, that's not considered part of rishus harabim. Now the Gemara brings the concept of Eruv. We know Eruv Tchumim. If I want to walk 2,000 amas outside of the city limit, I place a meal consisting of a bread and an egg and I say, okay, that's where I am residing on Shabbos, even though I'm not there. So I walk towards my bread, 2,000 amas, and from the bread I get another 2,000 amas. Says the Brayso, what happens if a person puts that meal in a pit? Now we must say the pit is less than 10 tefachim, because if it's more than 10 tefachim, then it's a Rosh Hashanah. And he, in his mind, thought he's going to reside in Rosh Hashanah. So his meal is not where he's residing. Therefore, it's less than 10 tefachim. But it's a question on Rava, because you see, you could use a pit. People use holes in the ground. It's considered a hard usage, yet it's part of Rosh Hashanah. Says Rava, no. We're not talking about Rosh Hashanah. We're talking about a Carmelis. The reason why it says Rosh Hashanah to come to exclude a Rosh Hashanah, because in Eruvin you either have Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Hashanah, but he happens to be in a Carmelis. Another very interesting teretz the Gemara says is that in fact the man himself is in Rosh Hashanah. His Eruv is in a Carmelis. Now you asked if it's in two different domains, then he can't really use it. The answer is he could, because since a Carmelis is only Issa the Rabbanon weren't makbid when it comes to Bein HaShmoshes. It's considered a shvus. A shvus is a Issa the Rabbanon. Issa the Rabbanon doesn't apply during Bein HaShmoshes. And since during Bein HaShmoshes he had his Eruv in place, so that wasn't an Issa for him to go fetch it, so he was considered as if he resided in the Carmelis. What happens if you have an object? Let's take an object, and it's in Rosh Hashanah, and he takes it and he goes like this, and he flips it over. Now, if you see this point is stationary. It never moves when he flips it. The Gemara says he was never over on an akira. He never lifted it up, and in fact, he's potter. But if you took this object and he rolled it in Rosh Hashanah, then he's chayiv. If he dragged it in Rosh Hashanah, he's chayiv, because he moved the entire object while he's dragging it. When he rolled it also, the entire object moved. Whereas if he just lifted it up on its point, it never moved. When the Brayso discusses in a skufa, the threshold, the Brayso is discussing a threshold that's a makom tur. It's less than 4 tefachim wide, and therefore if somebody's standing on this skufa, he could reach into a Rosh Hashanah and grab something from someone, or he could reach to the Rosh Hashanah and grab something from someone. But he cannot act as the middleman and bring something from the Rosh Hashanah all the way into Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara asks, what's the difference? Rava says if somebody carries something above his head in Rosh Hashanah, and above his head is above 10 tefachim, and above 10 tefachim is a makom tur. Yet this person, if he travels 4 amas and he places it down, he's chayiv. The answer is because he never rested, he never stopped. But when a person takes an object and places it on a skufa, he stops in a makom tur. Then he goes from the skufa to the Rosh Hashanah or vice versa. So he made that stop, and therefore he's not chayiv for going directly from Rosh Hashanah to Rosh Hashanah. Stay safe, be healthy, and have a wonderful day.